baby. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into episode number 97. We're closing in on a Bilski, closing in on a Hunsky, however you want to say it. We're closing in on 100 episodes of Clark After Dark, which is kind of crazy to really think about, considering that when I started this thing, heck, I didn't even name this podcast. Chris David named this thing. He just said, man, I think that people want to hear from you, ZC. And he said, let's start a podcast. And Chris hung out with me for the first couple of months on this deal. And boy, I brought Cortland Smith on one night as a guest. And I did a podcast with Cortland a couple years ago. It was actually, which is crazy to think, it was already 10 years ago around there. I think it was 2017. I had him on. I did this little segment after he won his first career race at Rose Bowl Speedway. And at that time, I knew Cortland was talented. And I thought, you know what, one day, I think me and him could probably have a pretty successful podcast. You know, and throughout the deal, like, Chris decided that wasn't really something he wanted to do every week anymore. And I said, well, I know just the guy. I knew just the guy that is going to come over here and we're going to knock this thing out of the park every week. Some weeks might be better than others, race fans, but Cortland and I truly love coming here every week and talking racing to all of you guys, whether we have 5 people listen, 1 person listen, or over 100. I think on YouTube, like, you'll look at the views on there, and we average around in between 90 and 150 views, and you'll think to yourself, oh, that's not a lot. But the majority of all of our views come between our RaceON platform directly to the RaceON app. We're also available on iHeart, Spotify, Apple, and all the other platforms that you can get your podcast from. So with that being said, I'm happy to be here once again on a Tuesday or a Wednesday afternoon talking racing with all of you great folks. So I'll go ahead and welcome on my co-host of this podcast now. If I just gave him a nice intro, almost exited the whole podcast out right there. That wouldn't have been good. Welcome on Cortland Smith now. I always say you're the man with the plan, but there's got to be some kind of plan, because I got to tell you, I showed up a little bit late, a little wet underneath the collar tonight, and I don't have a ton of notes, but I don't think we need to. This is one of the biggest weeks in all of racing, right? The Knoxville Nationals, presented by Casey's. The NOS energy drink, excuse me. It just sounds better, doesn't it? Presented by Casey's is going on this weekend at the Knoxville Raceway in Knoxville, Iowa. Truly, what a massive week for motorsports, right? Typically, and you saw Michael Rigsby, he's going this week to the Knoxville Nationals for the first time. He's been sharing. He's fired up about it. You know, he's a true gamer, right? Like, he understands racing and he can appreciate a good event, but he said that he's never made it there. You know, he's almost 40, or he's 40 years old. He's never made it to Knoxville because the North-South 100 has always raced on that weekend, which is pretty cool too, because now you have the Topless 100 that is kind of, well, you can't say standalone, it's racing against Knoxville, but you'll have your late model fans down at Batesville, and you'll have really the whole world, the whole nation, all eyes will be on Knoxville this weekend. Last year paid $195,000 to win. Ryan Timms won it, first time ever. Of course, he just won the 360 Nationals, Cortland, but this year it pays $200,000 to win. First of all, how you doing? It's Knoxville Nationals week. I know we don't talk a ton about sprint cars here, but this is the kind of race that you can get up for. No matter who you are, where you've been, this race just means something. And it's a ton of fun to watch. I can't wait to tune into Dirt Vision tomorrow night and check it out.
We're doing good. And like you said, man, the spectacle that goes to Knoxville Raceway every August, right? The Knoxville Nationals, that place turns into a complete 180 difference of what it is on a week in and week out, normal everyday life for Knoxville, Iowa. Like, the place gets completely taken over by sprint car and sprint car racing itself. It engulfs the entire town. And, the history and all is there for it. So they know it's happening, but it is quite the spectacle. And, like you said, you can get up for just about any sprint car race. I know we don't talk about it a whole lot. Some people probably wonder if we even watch sprint car races. We do. We keep up with it. Just our hearts are in late models. But at the end of the day, like you said, ZC, this Knoxville Nationals is probably one of the biggest short track events in the world. There's going to be people all across the world watching this deal, and 100%. The Topless 100 will be live on the TV, but you're keeping up with the Knoxville National as well, just because of the history and everything about it, man. It is that spectacle of what everybody loves to see. And it's got the history, it's got the names, it's got everything about it. And it's just a great event that, is going to be in the heat of summer, and the best of the best show up weekend or night after night there when they start Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and they roll through it, man. What a really cool format they have and all for it. So yes, it's just one of those events that you can always get excited for.
I know that we're going to sound biased. I say we, but I personally feel like the 2016 Knoxville Nationals is the greatest race of all time. Truly. Anytime that race ever pops up on my feed, or I can go find it on YouTube, a lot of times I don't even have to find it. It'll just pop up somewhere on Instagram or Facebook or some kind of social media platform. And the 2016 running of the Knoxville Nationals, when Jason Johnson won that race, was something I'll never forget. I remember where I was when it happened that night. I was at Arklatex announcing, and it was watching it from my phone. And like really, when you try to encapsulate what an incredible night that was at the racetrack, it's really hard to put into perspective. You just have to watch the video and see it. You know, the whole post-race interview, beating Donnie Schatz, who was nearly unbeatable, right, at that time at the Knoxville Raceway, for Jason Johnson to do it. The Eunice, Louisiana driver, right? Biggest win for a driver ever, I think, for a racer to come out of the state of Louisiana to win the Knoxville Nationals for Jason Johnson was just truly incredible. And then, sadly, to lose him less than 2 years after that was just heart-wrenching. You know, I miss Jason a ton. I tell people all the time, they ask me if I knew Jason Johnson, and I tell them, yeah, like, I don't know if you ask Jason, hey, do you know who Zach Clark is? I don't know if he ever point me out in a crowd, but if he saw me, he would know who I am, because I had interviewed him in the victory lane when he won at the Texas Motor Speedway U.S. National Championship, and Lil Jax was just in a baby stroller at the time, right? Like, he was just born. He was only a couple months old. I actually have that video. It's saved in my Google Photos. But Brian Holbert allowed me to go down and interview Jason. He knew I was from Louisiana. I know that sounds a little biased too, but he let me go down there and do the interviews that night. And that's something that I will never forget, is just being able to share victory lane with a guy that I grew up idolizing. Man, I really, really was a big fan of Jason Johnson growing up. Man, he coming to run at Champion Park so many nights. He won quite a few ASCS features at Champion Park. But yeah, man, before I get off on a JJR tangent here, I certainly hope Macedo, listen, and this is the throwback, right? It's the 10th year.
I'm about to say they're bringing that rap. Yes.
Listen, this is the only thing that I request, okay? This is it. I know Macedo's in the car, and he's not the Raging Cajun, but if we're going to do a 10-year throwback of the car, please just put Raging Cajun on the brow of this wing. That's what I want to see. I want to see Raging Cajun back on the brow right there. That makes it a true throwback. But other than that, I mean, I love it. I mean, the car looks great. It is a beautiful race car for the 41 for Jason Johnson Racing. But, you know, that got me thinking. Michael Rigsby posted this yesterday. That's the second Michael Rigsby shout out on this pod tonight. You met him at Fairbury earlier this year. But anyway, he made a Facebook post yesterday and said that I think that this has to be, even though he's never experienced it for himself. By the way, I had an opportunity. Tim Crawley called me Sunday when I was on my way back from Wheatland, and I was rolling through. It was funny because I was just rolling through Little Rock. He's like, "What you doing?" I was like, "Shit, rolling through your hometown, cuz." You know? He's like, "You want to go to Knoxville?" And I said, "Hell yeah, I want to go to Knoxville, Tim." And I was like, "What is the details?" He goes, "Well, we got a place for you to stay. I got tickets. I got this and that. If you want to go, the door's open." And not to mention, last Friday night or the Friday before at Texarkana, Michael, who owns the racetrack over there, told me, "Hey, do you want to go to the Knoxville Nationals? I got a suite. I got this and that." I ain't going to lie to you, cuz Boot Hill races this weekend, and I plan on going to Manny on Friday night to join you for the RaceON All-Star Challenge. But your boy ZC was like, "You know what? I'm 37 years old. It's time I go experience the Knoxville Nationals already, because tomorrow's not guaranteed. And I would love," and I told Tim, "Man, hey, listen," I told Tim, I said, "Well, man, Boot Hill," he said, "Oh, hell," he said, "Bo and Rollo will understand." He said, "You got Cortland over there, don't you?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "But man, I was out of town last week, you know, like, I hate missing races." I was like, "Dude, we only got 4 or 5 or 6 left." I was like, "And I don't want to miss one of them, you know?" He's like, "Well, the opportunity's on the table." And I said, "All right, Tim, I hear you loud and clear." And so anyway, he checked back in with me this morning. He's like, "You coming?" And I was like, "Man," I hated to tell him no. Honestly, I did, because he really seemed like he wanted me to go and experience it. And like, you're only going to have, I messaged Josh Bell this too. He said, "Zach, you're stupid." He said, "You're absolutely crazy if you're not going to get in the truck with the Crawdaddy and go to Knoxville Nationals." He's like, "It's one thing to just go to the Knoxville Nationals, but you get to go up there with Tim Crawley." And so now I'm on my podcast sitting here telling you the story, and I'm a little upset about it because I didn't go. Hey, you know, I told Mom, I said, "Tim Crawley's trying to get me to go to Knoxville." And she's like, "Well, go, son." I was like, "Well, Boot Hill races on Saturday night." She's like, "Oh, well, never mind." And I'm like, "See, Mom, that's why you're here. You made me feel a little bit better about it." She's like, "You wouldn't leave." I was like, "No, Cortland could do it solo." I was like, "He's proven he can do it. He can do the job." I was like, "But I just don't like telling Tim no. Like, he's pretty convincing." And so, anyway, Landon's racing this week. I would love to go, but obviously that's not going to happen this time around. So anyway, I got off on a tangent. Michael Rigsby posted on social media yesterday about posting the top 5, or he wanted to know what everybody's what your hierarchy was, right, for the biggest races within our short track racing community. And I think it's unequivocally number 1 is the Knoxville Nationals, right? Just the fan turnout, everything that you see there year in and year out. That place is packed to the gills. The racers pack the pit area, and it's just an unbelievable vibe, right? And I haven't experienced it for myself, right? But one day, hopefully, I will. But I'm going to make this point too, because I mentioned that Jason Johnson race, and a lot of times, Cortland, I've come here and I've talked about how when you're watching on the broadcast, you don't fully get the feel of what everybody else feels at the racetrack. But that 2016 broadcast of Jason Johnson beating Donnie Schatz in that race, that is one where you could hear the crowd over the race cars. When Jason Johnson took the lead and Tony Bachhoven and Johnny Gibson are up there screaming on the microphone, doing a hell of a job. One of the best calls I've ever heard, by the way. But you can hear the crowd over those 410 cubic inch engines, which is unbelievable, right? As many people are there, you can hear it over the engines. Just that's what makes Knoxville so special, right? Is the people, it's the fans, it's the Dingus Lounge across the street. It's everything packed into the pony that just makes this thing so good. So I put together my list, and I actually posted it on his page, so a lot of people that listen to this pod, you may have already seen my list. But I tried to sprinkle it in, and I was being respectful. So we have a different discipline for my top three. Knoxville's number one. World 100 for super late models is number two, right? That's the granddaddy of them all. I'm interested to know your top five, though, because I think yours might differ from mine. And I got the Chili Bowl number three, right? Because the Chili Bowl has been around forever. It stood the test of time. It's the premier event for midget racers, and everybody wants to go to the Chili Bowl, right? The PDC and the North-South, I think I have them knotted up like 4A, 4B. I'm not sure which one is better, right? I think the PDC and the North-South are both equally amazing events, and you could see how awesome the turnout is on the video camera, and you're watching the broadcast as well. And I slipped in this one. I slipped in the Kings Royal at number 5. Obviously, it's a World of Outlaws event. It's at Eldora Speedway. So one thing we've seen here is Eldora has got 2 of my top 5 spots, which goes to show that that's just a destination place to go watch dirt track racing at, right? What would be your top 5? You can have a top 5 for just race for dirt late models. Like, we could really get away with this thing right here, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many great events right there, and I don't want anybody to listen to this podcast feel like I'm slighting you. I saw Cody Summer make a post today felt like he felt a little disrespected because the Gateway Dirt Nationals doesn't get the love or respect. Like, buddy, let's back up a little bit. You know, Cody, I'd love to have you on this podcast at some time, but like, I think we'll get into that a little bit more. How about you give me your top 5? We'll talk about Gateway in a minute.
Yeah, we'll get into that. So we'll get into that. We'll hop into that Kool-Aid here in a second. But my top 5, I'm gonna agree with you. Man, I'm honestly like I'm torn between the two of Knoxville Nationals and Chili Bowl. Like, I really am. Like, I'm 1A, 1B with them two. And,
Wow.
you know, they're late model to the bone guy right here. But I've been to the Chili Bowl before, and that's just that's just an animal of itself. You know, the Tulsa Expo Raceway, that whole thing, a week-long grind in there from Monday to Saturday. And then that Saturday, you start at 8 a.m. racing for whatever main that they may start with that year. And the Knoxville Nationals, like, I got them two 1A, 1B. Like, I'm torn between which one that is really top dog. So that's 1A, 1B. 3, I got the World 100. 4, I got the Dream. And then my 5th, Zach Clark, IMCA Super Nats at Boone.
Bro.
When we're talking about an event and you put 1,000 entries or however many they get, I swear it's like 1,000 by the time. Yeah, 1,400. Like, when you put 1,400 entries into a pit area and you race an entire week that Super Nationals, I don't see how you can't have it as one of the greatest. You know, like, you got the greatest races, but when we're talking about a spectacle, we're talking about a whole encapsulating time. And when you go to, you know, they say, like, ain't nothing like Boone, you know, and then it's a lot of these places. You can throw the PDC in there. There's nothing like Fairbury, you know, like, it just, you could throw a bunch of deals out there. But again, my 1, I'm torn between Knoxville and Chili Bowl, 1A, 1B. 3rd's the World, 4's the Dream. And then 5, the IMCA Super Nationals. And then I got the Kings Royal 6, and you throw PDC, North, South. I mean, how are we going to sit here and not talk about World Finals not being one of the greatest deals in Charlotte? You know, like, when we really think about it, we got some really good, like, I got so many, like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 that could just go all different order. Exactly. I have Volusia down, and I ain't going to lie. I'm not saying it was ever getting up there. You got the USA Nationals, but what I was going to say, back when the Wild West Shootout was out at Vado, and I hate that they moved it, but it was pumping up. Like, I mean, when you were rolling into Vado Raceway and you had those guys rolling, I'm not saying it was in the top 10 just yet, but that Wild West Shootout at Vado, it was pretty sporty them couple years, and it was really gaining a lot of traction. I understand why they had to move it back farther west and they had to leave Vado, so I get it. But, you know, like, we're really, when you think about it, it's kind of your own personal preference, I guess you could say. But at the end of the day, it's really cool that we can sit here and you really don't know who to put in your top 10.
I just got a message from somebody who said, I'm really looking forward to the podcast tomorrow. That's awesome. I love that. Getting message right in the middle of recording the pod. That's good to know that people are waiting on us. Yeah, it's good. Shout out there. But dude, like, just think about all these outstanding races, right? We listed Knoxville. How, the World 100, the IMC Super Nationals, the Dirt Late Model Dream, the Kings Royal, the Chili Bowl Nationals, the Prairie Dirt Classic. That we didn't mention the Tuscarora 50 at Port Royal. Like, that is a massive event. That's a crown jewel. By the way, Ryan Timms won that one and the Knoxville Nationals last year. Pretty incredible that young man only did that at the age of 19 years old last year. And I wonder if he can go back-to-back in Knoxville. We'll talk about that in a second, too. North-South 100, of course. How about the High Bank Nationals, right? Like, dude, there's the Dirt Car National, the World Finals, like you mentioned, the National Open at Williams Grove, the 360 Knoxville Nationals that just got put into the history books last week, the Show Me 100. I think Michael's more question was, like, week-long events. But I just, coming up with I was just coming up with, like, dude, we really, you got the Skagit Nationals, the USA Nationals, the Topless 100 is this week.
Yeah.
Like, dirt track racing's really, really good. You've got Indiana Sprint Week that goes on up there. You've got the whole month-long Summer Nationals. I'm getting away from myself now. But really, like, if you look, you can find something for everybody and something that somebody can like. If you go somewhere and ask somebody in Illinois what's their favorite race, a lot of them will say, man, I'll just like them Summer Nationals, cuz. You know what I mean? Or I love the Prairie Dirt Classic. It just depends on where you live and who you talk to. You know what I mean?
And don't forget about the Fall Jamboree for your modified guys. You go to Deer Creek, that Fall Jamboree, Silver Dollar Nationals when it was at I-80, like the Silver Dollar Nats back in the old I-80 days, and they went to Houston's there for a little while. And I know they kind of maybe lost a little luster, but now they moved this year. And like, I mean, there really is, dude. Like you said, you could sit there on a calendar and you could map out an entire year. And it just seems, whether you want to call it a crown jewel or not, you got a big race every single weekend in some shape or fashion in dirt track racing. And it really is a cool place. We start in January and you run all the way through December with the Dome, right? Like you start in January down there in Florida and you run or Wild West Shootout, which actually you started over at the Wild West Shootout, and you go to Florida for Speed Weeks, and then you run all the way to the Dome, right? So, I mean, really, it's just it is crazy to sit here and think about it in racing. It just it is. We can sit there and talk about the good old days, but there's some pretty good days right now, my friend.
Dude, and also the Street Stock Nationals is this weekend too, on top of all day. And I saw like
Rodney Wings House of Hook.
I saw Tyler Nicely, like UMP modified standout is going to run there this weekend. Corey Neal Jr. obviously, but that Street Stock Nationals, you see it every year on social media. It gains more and more traction every year. That Street Stock Nationals is a pretty cool deal. I'd love to go up there and maybe get old ZC and CS on the mic for that deal. I don't know. I'm just talking outside of my neck. I'm just saying.
Hey, I've said it on there before. Why not? Like, I love Why Not. Like, Why Not is its own animal. And the people there, like, they'll throw down at that Street Stock Nationals. Like, I've gone to the Fall Classic. Me and a couple partners, we stayed up to 4 or 5 a.m. before at the old Fall Classic. But Street Stock Nationals, them people never sleep. Like it is a full blown get it on event. You show up to a race and a party breaks out, and it's just a whale of a time at Rodney Wings House of Hook. I'm telling you right now, I'm a Why Not fan. If you've never been there, you better get your tail there. That's all I got to say.
Where does the Gateway Dirt Nationals fall in line here, right? And I'm not sure it falls in line anywhere, right? I didn't mention in all those races I mentioned. I saw Cody Summer made a Facebook post today. He felt a little, I don't want to say disrespected, but he did mention the word respect, so maybe he felt a little dejected there by how everybody was just not mentioning Gateway. But I'm not sure they have to, right? Like, and I don't think that was the question that Rixie was trying to put out there, was just, to compare a bunch of places. Like, I think that we can take and appreciate and love something about every single one of these races that makes them so great. But we talked about this last December, right, at the conclusion or coming into Gateway. And I remember you had a pretty poignant perspective on this thing. Like, I asked you straight up if you considered it a crown jewel yet. And like, I feel like the term crown jewel, Cortland, and we say it a lot even down here, right? Like, for us in this general Arklatex region, right? The 30K and the King of the Hill, those are our factory stock crown jewels. But that term gets thrown around loosely, regionally, locally, and nationally, right? But who cares? Like, if your feelings get hurt because somebody calls something a crown jewel, well, guess what? That's their opinion and it's not yours. And you can get your feelings hurt about whatever you want to, I guess. So anyway, I feel like that term does get thrown around, but Gateway, in my opinion, is in its own private Idaho, right? Like, nothing compares to it. Even though I've never been personally, I know you've been, but nothing really compares to it, right? So is it, in your opinion, considered a crown jewel? Yes, you could say it is, right? Whatever your definition is, but Gateway's Gateway, and it's in its own time, its own place, indoors in December. They get the whole sport to themselves, so you really can't compare it to anything else, Yeah,
and we look at other events and they kind of get that kind of same window sometimes, right? But you know, and like you said, we can, it's 2026. We can agree to disagree. Like, I'm not here to change your opinion. And just because my opinion's different, don't mean that you gotta hate me or anything, which hate's a strong word. We love everybody around here. But if you're asking me, the Gateway Dirt Nationals, no, I can't make it a crown jewel. But I'm not dogging it when I say that. Like, it's its own entity. It is dirt in December. It has got its stronghold. It is rolling. It is strolling. 40,000 people will bombard St. Louis in December this year and go pack it out. But I go back to the deal. Like, we can't even change a flat tire. Like, how can you like call it a crown jewel? I know they pay good money. Like, it pays good money, but we don't have the Josh Rice and Jonathan Davenport battle because both of them would have been DNF'd. Like, they couldn't go to you can't even go to the hot pit. And then all these races we talk about, like, you can at least go change a tire and try to rally back. And at this deal, how many times we've seen a guy catch a flat or something happen and they got to park it, right? And you know, and I understand where they're at. Like, they can't necessarily do that because they'd be there all day long, on top of how long it takes already with just the way that everything's set up. And again, like, I'm not hating on it by no means. It's just one of those deals. Like, you're not going to have this Josh Rice Davenport North-South 100 story at the Gateway Dirt Nationals. Now, you'll have great stories leaving out of it. It'll be a phenomenal race. You're going to beat the deck out of it. You're going to leave the spoiler hanging off. But how can you call it a crown jewel if you can't change a flat tire? You know, and that may be a hot take, but that's just the way I look at it. You know, like, if you have a flat, you go to the hot pit, you go to the work area, and you got guys that rally back, you know, and it is what it is. It's its own entity. It's absolutely got its place, its stronghold. I love it. I've been there twice. I think it's great for the sport. It's our Chili Bowl, you know. It's just people want to throw it as a crown jewel, and if they think it's a crown jewel, then more the merrier. Like, that's their opinion. I'm not here to change it. But if you're asking me, I just can't put it up there to snuff just quite yet. Which maybe they'll let them change tires this year, and my whole opinion will change.
Yeah, that's a great point. And since you mentioned Josh Wright and Davenport, and that was a wild race. So I was at Lucas Oil Speedway in Wheatland, Missouri, calling the USMTS action this weekend. They had the race on the TV up there in the press box in the background. And you know how I am. Like, I like to be able to watch the full race in its entirety right after the races. I try not to find out who wins these races, but I know it's really hard, right? Like, it's really hard not to get on social media and end up finding out something, right? Remember at the PDC a few weeks ago, I'd seen that Trey Mills led 63 laps, and I went ahead and quickly jumped off social media. I was like, shit. Like, can't let it happen. So I went into that.
Well, I didn't help you.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I didn't help you this week because I said they're going to burn Florence down tonight. That's all I texted you. So I probably didn't help you none either.
It's fine. Like, when you sent me that, you know, because when the USMTS feature rolled onto the track, the first thing that I'd said, you know, for all the fans that were watching live on Racing there, I was like, well, Josh Rice has just won the North-South 100. Because it was like, I had to talk about it somewhere and get it off my chest because that was... Like, you come into these events, right, and you want to see the Cinderella story. You want to see that play out. And when it plays out, and it plays out in the fashion in which it did, it causes a stir. It causes everybody to go absolutely berserk and insane. Just go back and watch the last two laps and watch how just in sync these race fans were with Josh Rice's number 11 car. He'd go up there to the top of the racetrack and, you know, like, skirted off the wall, and everybody's in the stands, like, you know, back, like they're driving the car with him. And you can see him when he comes off the floor, throws that slide job on Davenport. They're in the, you know, like, just the epitome of true diehard race fans that have watched this kid his entire life back to modifieds and worked his way and pushed the progression in his career to get to the point where he's at now. And even more impressive that he changed his chassis and get back in the car that he felt so comfortable with, right? Like, he had really, like, what's funny is, Cortland, you came into this podcast last week and I said 32, right? That's what I said. I just threw it to you and I said 32, right? Like, 32 is going to win 4 North-Souths in a row, right? Because he just dominated the USA Nationals from his 13th starting spot. It just felt like Pierce was going to go and win another one. Well, we had a freaking Daytona crash on lap 10, which took Shepard and Pierce out of the deal. And at that point of the race, Cortland, Jonathan Davenport inherits the lead. And I don't know about you, but I'm thinking as I'm watching, I was like, oh, it's Davenport's race to lose now, right? And it was. It ended up still being the 49's race for a good portion of that. But Kyle Bronson, man, like, Kyle Bronson said Davenport,
the killer.
Yeah, the killer rose to the occasion, led over 40 laps of that feature on Saturday night. And, man, Josh Rice went to the hot pit for a freaking broken shock, went to the hot pit and changed 3 tires in this 100-lap race. I've never seen anything like it. I was over here thinking, I've seen some crazy races, right? The one that Earl Pearson Jr. won at Mansfield for a really nice, like, $200,000 payday. That was a crazy race. Had a bunch of flats, and guys were going to the hot pit. But this was still a really good race despite all the carnage, right? Every time the green flag was out on the racetrack, these guys were getting it on. Yes, there was a few more caution flags than I would like to see, but dude, we finally, at the very end, got an 18-lap green flag run to the drop of the checkered flag. And that, my friends, was one of the most incredible races and finishes I have ever seen. Like, truly phenomenal, man. What a race. Like, Josh Rice, we've talked about him on this podcast a lot, right? Like, dude's a true will man, but to see his hopes and his dreams all come to fruition live and in real time in front of his hometown fans in person was just something that you will never be able to capture again. Like, yeah, he could win the North-South again, but that first and one time that you win it for the first time and it's fresh on everybody's mind, that's only going to happen one time. And boy, he soaked it up, and I think he got the good out of it. What a race.
Yeah, Josh Rice made me look like a very smart man after last week when I sat there and said that the 11R was going to win. Or I said, like, I wouldn't be surprised Josh Rice finally breaks through and does it. I didn't come right out and say it because I kind of agreed with you. But, dude, it's just
Rocket.
Whether you have the Daytona crash or not, and you talk about, you take out 10 cars and you only got, like 12 or 13 still out there when they go back green. But this built up from Thursday. Thursday night, both A qualifiers, barn burners. Friday night, barn burners, last lap passes, and 3 out of the 4 of them, I believe. So it just led up. Everything was building up. It's like, man, Florence has been spot on all week long. And then Saturday rolls around and you have that Daytona crash and you're like, man, like, is this really how this is going to, like, it can't end like this. Like, it can't just be 49 drive away. And then the killer, like you talked about, comes up there ripping the lip, beats the wall down. Davenport and Rice make contact. Davenport and Kyle Brunson make contact. Everybody made contact with everybody at some point in this race. If you haven't realized that by now, everybody made contact with somebody at some point. And then you get to that finish, and it's just everything that you could tell is like everything he had worked for. And you probably said something along these lines, everything that he had worked for his whole life. What was that moment right there? He finally got his chance to go out and do this for a true bona fide living. He quit his normal day job and jumped in this JRR ride and just went out and has done it this year, and it had gone out on the road, run a national tour. This is full time. You got to make the bread right now when you got the opportunity, and then to roll into his place like he did, go to the hot pit 14 times. Jason Jameson is sitting there telling him to calm down, which is probably not the greatest guy to sit there and tell you to calm down. Old Jason Jameson, he's a gasser himself, but it's just wild to think about it. And I say it, and we probably said it a million times. That's why you love racing, is because of stories like this. Whenever he takes the checkered flag and the entire place is standing up, and then he goes around and makes his parade lap, and you got people climbing the fence. I know some dude in a Brandon Shepherd shirt's about to completely go over the top of the fence, right? Like, it was just, Florence Speedway is one of those late model love cities. Like, Florence definitely is diehard late models, and they are diehard for Josh Rice, and everything just cultivated to what it was. And it was an incredible weekend. The North-South 100 is already a big race. And like I said, from Thursday, Friday, it built up to what it was. And then you have a 100-lapper that you literally had every single crook, cranny. Supposedly they were trying to beat the rain. So they're rushing forward, trying to get the show in. And you don't know if guys are trying to race the weather and this, that, and the other. Like, literally every single question mark or X factor that could have been thrown in got thrown in. And Josh Rice wins the race in a chassis that he debuted in on Thursday with a broken right front shock, 3 different tires, hot pitted 14 times. The guys that finished second was stuck on top of the infield wall, and he had to go change tires. Devin Moran, like, it was just
What about
crazy.
Luke Morey?
Luke Morey,
Yeah.
I was just about to say, Luke Morey finishes third.
What?
Like, a good run for him. Like, just the North-South 100 delivered. And we'll sit here, and this will be one that you look back on, and there will be certain races that, like, this was the turning point. This was the turning point. The North-South 100 is a long-standing dirt late model event, and it'll be around forever. But for the new era of race fans, this is the one that you circle. And it's like, this is why the North-South is what it is, right? Like, this is the reason why we love the North-South 100 and why it's been a crown jewel for so long, and it's just going to keep that momentum going into years far beyond.
Yeah, for what it's worth, the top 10, Kyle Bronson was 10th, Brian Shirley 9th, Carson Ferguson, Clay Harris from up 20 spots to finish in 7th. Dallin Murdy finished 6th. He was up 6 spots. Good run for Dallin Murdy, man. He continues to show strength and speed, right, in that number 13 Bruning Rock Products car. Brandon Overton finished 5th, had another good weekend. Man, he finally got that win that he has been so needing in a prelim, right? That was huge. I wish it had been more than $6,000 for him because I think the team needs it. But it was good to see the 76 back in Victor Lane, right? The old Budweiser wrap. Brandon's had speed, man. He just hadn't been able to get off the schneid, right? Like he's been snuck so many times late. Marlar snuck him late in that prelim the other night, but he came back on Friday and got another one done there. Made a last lap pass, man. Like those prelims too, man. You kind of alluded to it. We had 2 last lap passes on Thursday night and another one, wasn't it, on Friday? It was just an incredible weekend. It really was. Devin Moran finished 4th. He led some laps. I think we had 6 different lap leaders of this race, which is wild. Luke Morey's up 16 spots to go 3rd. Davenport got 2nd. Josh Rice started 9th, and he took the win in the Ratliff Motorsports number 11 Rocket race car. All right, so a Rocket started on the pole. Dan Ebert, he broke a J-bar, wasn't it, or a pull bar or something on the restart.
A lift arm.
A lift arm, excuse me. Yeah, broke a lift arm on the restart, and that's what caused up that 13-car pileup on the front straightaway. And it was funny in Josh Rice's Victor Lane. He said, dude, we had the fucking Daytona crash. Yeah, dude, his emotions and everything. And by the way, I don't know if Ben Shelton listens to this podcast. I don't care if he does or doesn't, but I'm going to give him a shout out. We listen and we see Ben a lot. We see Ben a lot at all these races. And I talk about other announcers that I respect and that do a good job. But Ben Shelton did a phenomenal job of just letting that moment be the moment. He didn't say too much on the mic. He just basically left the mic out in the air and let the moment handle itself. And as an announcer, that's what you're supposed to do. Not saying I'm the end-all be-all and I'm not the one telling people how they should or shouldn't do this job, but it's just like when you watch a Fox Sports game and the Dallas Cowboys are playing the Eagles and it's a last-second play, and Joe Buck, I have always loved and respected Joe Buck. There's a lot of people on here, for whatever reason, hate on him on social media, but he oftentimes just shuts up and lets the moment take care of itself. He lets the people sitting at home experience what people that are there in attendance experience. And that's what you should always do. Like, try to be less mouthy on the microphone and just let the moment sell itself. And oftentimes, I got to remind myself of that. I know I can get to be a chatty Cathy sometimes on that microphone. But anyway, for a moment as big as that was, Ben knocked it out of the park and did a great job. And you might say, oh, well, that's his job. Yes, it's his job, but he did it very well. And some guys don't do as good a job. So shout out to you, Ben Shelton, for a phenomenal job and letting that moment sell itself on Saturday night. All right, so let's set aside, because Bobby Pierce is the number 1 late model driver in the country right now. Yes, he got taken out Saturday, and it was hard to really tell because him and Rocket 1 were both involved in that crash. But the Dirt on Dirt Power Rankings came out today, and he got 9 first-place votes. Brandon Shepard got 1 first-place vote, which is fine because the season doesn't end right now, and this is just all for bragging rights, right? It's okay. He's still got the Lucas Oil points lead, and Bobby Pierce is leading the World of Outlaws points, right? And they'll race against each other a time or two throughout the year, and we'll determine a true number 1 by season's end, right? But let's set aside these power rankings real quick, Cortland, right? My question to you is, and maybe you're the wrong guy to ask this to because you're Rocketeer to the bone, Mr. Bias over here. I'm just kidding. I'm not. I think you can separate it. I'm kidding with you. My question is, Dan Ebert started on the pole. Kyle Bronson in a Rocket led a lot of laps. Josh Rice wins, passes a Longhorn to get it done. My question to you is, overall, in the grand scheme of things, in dirt late model racing right now, is Rocket Chassis back on top over Longhorn? If we would have said this 1 year ago, you would have looked at me and was like, cuz. You were like, not a chance. Longhorn has been killing them for the last 3 years now. Like, really, since Brandon Shepard left Rocket, since Hudson O'Neal left Rocket and Brandon Shepard got back in the Rocket 1, it's taken some time to get things back going expectation. Yes, Turbo has been a Rocketeer, tried and true, and he's had some good runs, some big wins. But it's taken time for Rocket to get back to this level in this XR2. So I'll quit talking. Is Rocket back on top right now over Longhorn for what it's worth? Like, this is just a fun conversation.
It's not coming back if you never left, cuz. Like, don't ever count out Mark Richards. Don't ever count out Mark Richards. And no, people are going to think I'm biased. No, Rocket was definitely, like, you know that Rocket was struggling. You know, like, it's that was obvious. So we could sit here and state that 1,000 times. There was a reason whenever A mains would roll out that 22 of them would be Longhorns and you'd have 2 Rockets. You know what I'm saying? But it's just one of those deals that the sport's ever evolving. And, it's one of those things where sometimes you think that maybe Longhorn not necessarily outgrew themselves, but once you get so many people out there on them that, you got your core group of guys that are always going to run good. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, look at Mike Marlar, hops in a rocket, and he's found some speed again. But like Mike Marlar's a driver. Like, it doesn't really matter what Mikey's in. He's won races in everything, right? Like, it doesn't matter what he's in. You put the 49, one of his World 100s that he won was in a rocket for G.R. Smith back in the day, right? So at the end of the day, they're always been kind of good. Has the mass majority jumped over to Longhorns? Yes. Has Rocket officially taken over? You're probably going to surprise you with this answer, but I'm not going to say yes to it just yet. Because still, whenever and I'm very much a statistics guy. Whenever you look at it, and if 20 of the cars in the field are Longhorns out of 24 starters, like, they got a pretty good chance for a Longhorn to win the race. And at the end of the day, this is a business for both chassis people. So, and to win in the business, you got to be selling the most cars. So whoever's selling the most cars, that's who's on top right now. But I can tell you that the list to get XR2s probably grew a lot more the last couple weeks,
no doubt,
than the Longhorn list. That's all I got to say. Mike Marlar goes 2 weeks ago, wins at Duck River over Brandon Overton. Then you turn around and it was only 2. They split 50-50. They swept Thursday night, and then Longhorn swept Friday. So you split the prelims, and then on Saturday a Rocket wins. I mean, some people discredit it and say Josh Rice could win in a Rocket or a Longhorn, and you're probably right at Florence. But at the end of the day, I think the Rocket list, the list to get XR2 grew tremendously, and that just is the proof in the pudding that they are climbing their way back up. And don't ever count out Mark Richards. Don't ever count out Steve Baker, Danny, Austin, Joel, Seabrook Calf Ranches, Valvoline. I was going to go through the whole Sheppy interview there, but no, don't ever count out old Mark and Steve. It's ingrained in my head.
Well, I can tell you that now we can have a conversation about it, right? Because if I were to come here and even approached you with that question, that wasn't even a topic of conversation, because it was just unequivocal that the Longhorn was number one. Like, it wasn't even an argument. Now we have a pretty good argument here, right? And like, I think they've certainly
they're close.
Up. Yeah, they're absolutely caught up. They're very, very close. They're on the doorstep, and they're knocking right now. They're like, "Hello, Longhorn, will you let me in?" And Longhorn's like, "Hell no," but you can come in over here. We'll try to, So yeah, things are getting interesting. Things are about to get really, really interesting here, and I'm interested to see what kind of guys with this Rocket resurgent in the offseason may swap from a Longhorn to a Rocket, right? It just might suit their drive. Like, listen, Josh Rice is in a Longhorn, was performing well. Hell, he won it. He won at Lucas Oil Speedway in a Longhorn chassis early this year, was figuring that thing out. But man, like we talk about all the time, it doesn't necessarily have to be the hottest commodity, right? It has to be what fits you and what fits your driving style. And for whatever reason, a Rocket just fits Josh Rice. What did he say in his post? He said, he said, the harder you drive these cars, the better they are. That's what he said. And it just fits Josh Rice and his driving style. So, it's pretty cool to see that marriage kind of come back together, and you win the North-South the first weekend. That's like a gotcha moment for him, probably behind the scenes. I've been telling y'all year that it put me back in a Rocket, and I'll show y'all what I can do. And he put him back in a Rocket the first weekend, and he goes to Victory Lane for $75K. Just incredible stuff, man. Incredible. All right, did you watch the Front Row Challenge last night at Oskaloosa and the battle between Kyle Larson and Ryan Timms? Because that was something.
That was interesting. That was interesting.
Watching the Front Row Challenge. I even like watching them do the whole foot race on the front straightaway.
I was about to say the foot race is the best part. The foot race is the best part, because dirt track drivers, they are some wheelmen, but not all dirt track races are the greatest athletes. And I say we need more foot races on the front stretch for racers. That's all I'm saying. We need more of it.
All right, then I'm about to shift gears. We'll come back to this. Give me your top 3. Let's just say factory stock all-star challenge, just to narrow it down to make this quick. Name your 3 fastest if you think who would win a foot race. I got to tell you, I think Faulkner would be pretty quick on his feet.
I was about to say Daft, that little scrawny dude. I swear he ain't got much wind drag on him, that little scrawny fella. But you give me old Daft on that one. I don't know if I've ever seen Justin Whitehead. Colby would be pretty good. Yeah, I think Colby's got a little athlete in him. I don't know if I've ever seen Justin run before. I don't know if I've ever seen Jeffrey Abbey run before. But like, they grew up racing, so they don't know if they ever played sports. Crap, you kind of caught me off guard on one of the factory stock cats. But I'm kind of with you on that. Daff will probably be a pretty good one. Hey, my boy Mason Martin, he's still young. He's still a young gun. His leg's still fresh. He won't get winded as quick as the older cat. So Mason Martin might be one to sneak away a Front Row Challenge.
All right, so last night, the 410 Sprint Cars race, the Front Row Challenge, was $20,000 win. Kyle Larson has now won that event 6 times. I'm not here to talk necessarily about who won the race, more so what happened for him to win the race. So he's clearly the fastest car on the racetrack, right? Ryan Timms is up front, clean air, but he starts messing up there on the cushion, and you can see it, right? Like the 57 was chipping away at the lead. And man, Larson just drove that 57 car in 5 car lengths back. And I'm not even going to call it a slide job because it wasn't one. It was a drive job, and he drove right up into the inside. And listen, there's a lot of bias here because there's 57 Larson fans. No matter what he does, doesn't matter if it's good or bad, they're going to back the 57 and make the other guy look like he's a dipshit. Well, Ryan Timms, in my opinion, he couldn't do anything but react right there. He just got run over. Like, I mean, honestly, I love Kyle Larson. He's the most talented driver I've personally probably ever seen in a race car, but it doesn't excuse him from driving over his head right there, in my opinion, and running through the 10 car. And I think that there's more to it than just that. Like, it's crazy because Larson's not actually, I thought maybe, okay, he's just trying to get maybe in the 10 car's head because Timms won the Nationals last year, right? And they're going into it this week, so maybe outrun him right here, getting his head a little bit. I'll probably have to race him on Thursday in a prelim. Even though Kyle Larson is scheduled to be racing NASCAR Saturday night at Richmond Raceway, he's still going to go qualify Thursday. We'll talk about that more in a second as well. But this whole deal, so he gets, I'm sure most of you have already seen the scuffle on the racetrack incident, right? It's going around, it's gone viral on social media. But the other one that got me was that Timms went to Victor Lane and confronted Larson, and he told him, I'll remember that. Well, Larson responded, and he said, I remember your midget resume. And Timms replied back and said, those have nothing to do with you. And they really don't. You know, like, Larson obviously looked like he was hell-bent, bound and determined to win that race by any means necessary. And he didn't give a shit if he hurt Ryan Timms' feelings or not, because obviously Timms was pretty torn up about it, went down there and said, hey, I remember this shit. And Kyle said, hey, I remember your midget career. You have no room to talk. And it's like, well, I've never done that to you, so why are you junking my shit? You know? And I'm not going to sit here and say he junked his shit because he still finished on the podium, right? He still finished top 3. But I thought it was borderline, like, Ryan Timms couldn't have done anything different right there. Like, as soon as he saw him, he tried to check up across the room, but, like, you gave him nothing, Kyle Larson. You gave Ryan Timms no choice but right there to either fence his race car or y'all both junk your shit. They're both lucky they didn't both tumble and flip their cars right there, and Corey Day won the race.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Like, it wasn't even a slide job. Like that was a crash job. Like, you're either going to crash or you're going to let me go. Like that was the only 2 options he had. So can you count that as a slide job? No. Like that was a simple, like, I'm willing to crash to pass you right now. And that's what's kind of like more aggravating is like,
people can't
Kyle
see
Larson,
that.
you were way faster. Like you could have waited another lap or 2, bud. Like if your car was that good to go win, you end up winning by 3 seconds or something. Like you probably could have waited another lap or 2 to do it. But if that was not your opportunity that you think that you had to take right then I guess take it. But like you said, Ryan Timms had nothing else to do but to just slam on the brakes. Again, I wasn't in the cockpit. I can't see out the left side to see what Ryan Timms saw, but we can sit here and try to call a race from the TV, and that's a completely 180. But all I know is that he was 5 car lengths back, threw it in there, and it was either Ryan Timms, you're going to lift, or we're both going to crash, and Corey Day's going to win. Like that, that was the only options you had, was we're both going to send this thing out the park, or you can lift for me. And if you lift for me, I'll end up winning the race. So that works out good for me. And guess what? Like, I don't have to pay for none of this. Like Paul Silva and them, like I don't have to work on it. So I'm not saying I don't know if Ryan Timms works on his own stuff, but Kyle Larson just hops in a plane and flies to the NASCAR race or fly back to Iowa. Like he's not sitting there. Like he'll go knock the wing off of it. He'll go knock the deck out of a late model. It's not like he's going to sit there and turn you know what I mean? Like Kyle Larson has nothing to lose in that situation. Like he doesn't really care.
Nobody seems to be able to call a spade here. I've seen so many people blaming Ryan Timms on this. Like, how in the hell can you blame the 10 car in that scenario? He's leading the race. He has no rearview mirrors, folks. He can't see out of the back of his freaking head. Like, what is he really supposed to do there, Cortland? Honestly, like, I can't believe social media sometimes. You people can't see the forest for the trees. Just because it's Kyle Larson doesn't excuse it. You know what I mean? Like, that, take anybody away. Like, just say that's Corey Day right there in that scenario. Or say it's Donnie Schatz. Donnie would have never done a move like that. And I'm not saying Larson, like, just as easy as I'll come to this podcast, Cortland, and I will I will blow sunshine up Kyle Larson's ass and tell you what a phenomenal, one of the greatest race car drivers we have ever seen. But I will easily also show up here and tell you when I think he makes a boneheaded move. Did he still win the race? Absolutely he did. He gets the last lap, and my feelings aren't hurt about it. Like, I don't give a damn. Him and Tim's will figure it out, and they'll live and they'll race another day. I just thought he didn't give the man much room or respect. Honestly, I clearly didn't give him any respect because he didn't give him any respect in the post-race victory lane either. And Ryan Timms went down there and called him a piece of shit. I was like, holy shit. I was like, we're out here calling people names. Like, this is serious. And they got a race for $200,000 to win come Thursday night.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Hey, at the end of the day, just like you said, Kyle Larson is one of the greatest talents behind the wheel of a race car we'll ever see, but just like you said, like, we're going to call a spade. And if what he did wasn't right for my eyes, it wasn't right. Now, if you see it other ways, hey, it's 2026. We can agree to disagree. Like, I'm not going to be mad at you for feeling the way you feel. You don't be mad at me for feeling the way I feel. But does this not build up the intensity leading into the Knoxville Nationals? I'm just saying, like, it's got the whole sport wrapped around this situation right now. And maybe that's kind of what this front row challenge was made for. Like, keep the intensity going. You got the Capitani, then you roll into this, and then it kind of builds the energy, builds it up, right? And if that was the whole goal, I'm not saying that's the whole goal of it. It's a great event. It's its own deal. That's not the whole reason they have this race, but that's part of it, is to build this energy up, to build this week-long brigade that is the Knoxville Nationals. You start with the Capitani, roll to the front row challenge, and then roll into the Knoxville Nationals. And it's building up the excitement. Like, that's all you see about, or all you saw about for the last day or so, is just like the video, and then people that are either Kyle Larson lovers or Kyle Larson haters. And there's no in between. You're either on one side of the fence or the other. And you know what? Sometimes what do they say? All media is good media, good, bad, indifferent. It don't matter. They're talking about me. And so at the end of the day, we're sitting here talking about Kyle Larson when we probably wouldn't have anyways.
Man, there's very few people that I've seen actually gave a legitimate take on it, like an unbiased take. And, I'm not trying to beat the horse dead, but my buddy Brandon Holtmeyer that I run iRacing with, he posted about this, and he said it was a bad slider. He sent it in from too far back. Plenty of time for Kyle to pull out of it and regroup with 5 laps left. He gave Ryan no choice. Kind of the same opinion that I have. But, yeah, he was out of room on the top, and the slider happened so late in the corner that, you're asking him to stop on a dime at that point. Anyway, you can go find his post, Brandon Holtmeyer. He broke it down pretty good. I actually respect his take on it. I'm not going to read the whole thing here because, anyway. But yeah, good stuff there. But yeah, wild. We'll see what happens in Knoxville. So interestingly enough, this is the same thing. I'm going to give Kyle some respect here because the fact that he comes back and races dirt, right? Like, a lot of people love watching him race dirt. I really, truly want to see him back in a super late model. I really do. I hope at some point he gets back, because that was quite the spectacle when he came. He won at Port Royal in his second career start. That was incredible that night. But yeah, and he won the PDC in 2021 too. Right?
Yeah,
I don't think anybody would have.
And then at All Tech, like lapped up to 6th place, won by Like, he's a shoe, and we will him back in the late model world.
Incredible talent, and I'd love to see him back at some point. But he has NASCAR obligations this weekend. So Richmond International Speedway races NASCAR Saturday, and you think about how important that is because they only have 3 or 4 races left until the chase starts, right? But he is locked in. He is racing at Knoxville Thursday night to try to qualify to win his 4th career Knoxville Nationals. And that's pretty crazy to think about, that a guy is locked in and he's going to go try to qualify, because if all else fails, if Richmond rains out Saturday night, that I know I have a sprint car locked into maybe the first few rows of the Knoxville Nationals. Yeah. Like, really, that's crazy that he has other obligations and he's still going to go qualify for this race. Now, here's my question, because I haven't looked at the rule book. If Larson qualifies, can they still take the car and put it in the show if they change drivers? Is that a rule? If it's the car owner's car, can another driver like a Brad Sweet or somebody get in and drive the car if Larson qualifies it? That's my question. I don't know. I don't have the answer.
I don't have the answer to that either, friend. I really don't know, but it is absolutely exciting. On the same episode that we'll sit here and pretty much say that slide job wasn't a very good slider, we'll also give the man credit of still NASCAR obligations and willing to fly on a plane from Knoxville, Iowa to race Thursday, fly back, try to run this cup race, like all on a whim that this cup race gets rained out or whatever may happen. Like, it's good for the sport. The crossing that has come along with Kyle Larson, whenever, like you mentioned, that first dirt late model venture that he took on, and how many sprint car people came to watch him drive a dirt late model. Now you got dirt late model people paying attention with other stuff, and just the crossing of different motorsports that we have, and the different disciplines. That was the word I'm looking for. Different disciplines of racing that we have, that now we're all kind of paying attention and keeping up with each other. That's one great thing that has come along with all this. That I will say, like you said, we'll give the man some crap for doing what he done on the front row challenge, but we'll also give him some credit of just being a racer. Racers race, right? And Kyle Larson's gonna try to race Thursday, and hopefully, I know what that man's thinking. Like he's wanting that NASCAR race to rain out, because he'd probably rather race that sprint car than that NASCAR Cup car.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, winning the Knoxville Nationals is a pretty big gig, and he's trying to get off the schneid in the Cup car too. He's been struggling, man. He's had some really shitty luck here this year. So, excuse the language tonight, folks. I think that's the 5th or 6th time I've said the S word, but whatever. Just in case
you're falling off the rails, bud.
I'm just falling off the wagon over here, folks. So, of course, I was at Lucasville Speedway for the USMTS this past weekend. But before I get there, I do want to mix in some of our local results. Sadly and unfortunately, Arklatex Speedway rained out both nights this weekend. They had the Revival Super Late Models. They had a pretty respectable field. I think 33 late models, which is really, really good considering the Comp Cam Super Dirt Series was racing in Arkansas this past weekend as well. So to split those cars and hairs there, to have a respectable count was good. And I heard a good thing. I heard the track was really, really good for the races they did get in. So shout out to Arklatex there. Hate that they rained out, but hopefully they can get something figured out and get it back. I heard Talon Willis and Brett Frazier had quite the race getting shaped up there in the feature event before we got rained out. So, but of course, Rocket Raceway Park had the reschedule of the All-American Showdown that got rained out at the last minute on race day on July 4th weekend. So they rescheduled that, did the fireworks show. They had over 130-something cars in the pits at Rocket. It was a long night, I hear. Long night. Shane Hartline won your modified feature. Jeffrey Abbey won your on-demand shirt stock car race. Cody Tupper picks up his 21st win of the year. He won the B mods after Arklatex rained out. That's how you know. The 23's a racer, right? He says, Arklatex rained out. We're not sitting at the house. The boys, we're headed to Rocket with the girls, with Gabby, and they go over there and pick up another check. 21st win of the year. Just shout out to Cody Tupper for continuing to dominate and doing it against different cars, right? Like, he wins at Arklatex. He wins at every place he goes against different competition. So shout out to him, man. Big congratulations to Tupper for serving more steak supper again. And your Junior Limited Modified Nationals, man. Cameron Anderson, that young man, I couldn't be any more proud of him. That is my buddy Dalen Briscoe's grandson. And I have been getting all kind of messages from Dalen, just hyping this young man up, telling me, Zach, he's going to be something. I'm telling you, Cameron's awesome. And I met him at Rocket the last race that I was over there, and I was impressed with him, just kind of how he conducted himself. And he struggled a little bit on the racetrack that night, but he won your Junior Limited Modified Nationals. I heard it was kind of a wild one, kind of rough and tumble, but again, you got to put yourself in position. You have to win these races when you have yourself in position, and Cameron Anderson got it done. And finally, of course, the RaceON All-Star Challenge was over there. We talked about it last week. Dalton Faulkner got off the schneid. He won $1,000 at Cotton Bowl in Page, Texas for their 3-race mini-series. By the way, Craig Pursley Jr. won that whole mini-series. Congratulations to the 56 camp. But I'm not sure he was in the 56. I think he drove somebody else's car on Saturday night, maybe a 45. I'm not sure. I haven't had a chance to go back and watch it, but shout out to CPJ for getting that done on their 3-race mini-series. But, dude, Dalton Faulkner, oh, buddy, the 27 car, hey, he wasn't going to be winless all year. And you knew that. I knew that. But the question was, how long is it going to take? Well, Faulkner won last week at a Cotton Bowl, and he rolled into Rocket, and he said, I'm not allowing this to happen anymore. He goes from the back of a B-main, wins it, and passes 16 cars and wins your RaceON All-Star Challenge feature on Saturday night. I think you've had a chance to go back and watch it. What was your take on Rocket on Saturday night? I heard the racetrack was awesome. Obviously, anytime that you can pass 16 race cars in a feature event with a field that talented, the track had to have been pretty damn good.
Yeah, track was really good. And dude, I'm just going to tell you right now, like if I'm these other factory stock guys, I might be a little bit nervous because 27 is looking like the 27 of old. And I'm just going to say it like that because he passed 14 cars in B feature number 2. And then you turn around and pass another 15 cars in the A main. The dude passed 30 cars in about, say, 45 laps. So a car a lap, the 27 was passing, my friend. And when that A main started, he started in 16th. And by about halfway through, he was sitting in 6th. And that all-star field was a pretty dang good one. I'm just going to go ahead and say your top 5. Second was Club 20. Third was Abby. Fourth, Kyle Blanton. Fifth, Mason Martin. Like, at the end of the day, this wasn't no just Kill Westover. Yes. Jet Hefty. Hey, my boy Wayne Melton led laps early in this unit because 18M was stunting on him. Okay, 18M was stunting on him early. He didn't necessarily get rooted off the bottom, missed the bottom there, and he kind of got a couple guys got by him and got out of his groove. But the 18M was stunting on him early on in that feature race. But dude, that 27 car, it didn't matter top, bottom, middle, dude. You can see it on a restart, like he split Cody Smith and I think it was Cody Smith and Rodney White, or Cody Smith and Mason Martin, like split them down the back stretch. Like the 27 car could just get and gone. Like he could get it and be gone before you even had a chance to realize he was there. And he's just rolled right around the outside of Abby and Neil Kemp all in like 2 laps. And sometimes you hate to like have to go through the adversity that he did. Like he killed a skidder tire and then ramped over another one on, like, as I ramp over my hat right there, about to knock my hat off. Jeez Louise, Cortland, hold yourself together.
Shout out Day Motorsports.
But he shout out coach, my boy Shane Sprinkle gave me the old hattie ratty. But anyway, Faulkner jumps over these skidder tires in the heat race. He has to start tail back of this B main, and you don't necessarily want to do it like that. But also, whenever you have to start in the back like that and pass all those cars, you get to run all those different lines. And he kind of mentioned that was like the leaders were out front and they were just kind of married to the bottom, and they never had to go to the outside or really try anything else. They were just kind of all fighting for that bottom versus him to pass 14 cars in the B main and then 15 more in the A main. You got to move around a little bit. So Faulkner could run the top, he could run the middle, and he knew what the track could give him. Does that make sense? Like he knew how much he could run that thing off in there. And dude, Dalton Faulkner, Daff is he never left, but that 27 car has got that speed that should make the factory stock nation a little bit worried, because he looked like the 27 old. I ain't saying that he wasn't slow early to start the year, but the car just didn't look right. Well, that thing looked right at Rocket on Saturday. That's all I got to say, because he was mighty fast, my friend.
Absolutely. So we head to Sabine Speedway this Friday night, and boy, it ought to be a good one. Shane's had that place so damn racy. We got stock cars there too on Friday.
The hidden gem. The hidden gem.
Not only do we have stock cars, we've got a pretty nice field of them coming. Neil's bringing his, Whitehead's coming, Jeffrey Abbey, I think David Leger. There's some more guys that I'm missing off top. I think Mason Martin will have his there. Andrew Rossum, he's always a show. The 92 car. Andrew Rossum ain't fooling around.
Come on.
I'm trying to tell you now. Absolutely. Hey, did we hit our 97s earlier, or am I tripping?
I don't think we did.
Okay. I just thought about that. We'll hit that here at the end, because I need to circle back and tell my boy Michael Knighton, former Quick Race Car Spring Nationals champion, that I love him, and I didn't mean to forget about him last week. He was up there in my notes, and I just got a little sidetracked. And also Dylan Knighton for my 96s last week. Yeah, man, I really felt bad. Like right when it was over, and then I got a message the next day from Josh Bell that said, "Dude, no Knightons on your 90." And I was like, man, I was like, you know what? I'm fired. I should be fired for this. So,
we should both be fired. Yeah. There's no reason we should have made it to 100 episodes by now. We should both be fired.
Yeah, that's great. All right. Well, all right. But I was going to say, Wayne Melton did send me a message. He said that, if I can keep some air in the right rear tire, I might win one of these big races. My right rear tire started going down halfway through the race at Rocket, so that's why evidently he faded the way he did. So, but yeah, man, I think that he's going to be something to deal with at Boot Hill for the King of the Hill this year. But hey, man, like we said, that 27 car, we'll see what happens this Friday night at Sabine, at Boot Hill on Saturday night. But I'm telling you, if the 27 wins one of those 2 races, and depending on his performance, y'all, like you just said, I'll reiterate it, y'all better look out for the King of the Hill, because he is hell-bent, bound and determined to win this King of the Hill, because he's tired of me talking about it, that he's never won it. He's tired of hearing you talk about it. He's tired of hearing them talk about it. And he's tired of hearing his wife talk about it. He's tired of hearing everybody talk about it, that he ain't ever won the King of the Hill. But he's been number 1 at qualifier. He's been fast time. He's been this. He's been number 1 at passing points. He's tired of it, people. And he's going to come and try to win the race again this year. And if he doesn't do it, then guess what? He'll come back next year and try it all over again. That's racing for you. But yeah, the 27 car is starting to heat up and feel himself. So that is about to be a thorn on the side for the rest of the competition. But it's great for us, right? It's great for us when you got guys like 36 Jake, Club 20, Abby, Faulkner, Mason Martin's really heated up. That Jet Hefty's been impressive, right? He was on the pole, the RaceON race at Arklatex. Like this factory stock deal we talk up so much, there's a reason why we talk it up, because the racing is just so damn good.
And I'm going to say Tommy Williams doesn't want to have to do it, but Tommy Williams, I hope he locks in because the man always puts on a soup run. You know what I'm saying? Like there's always something exciting that you'll always see. 151 camp, I'll give you a shout out again for the soup run at the 30K. But it is. We talk about it enough. We talk about it, the people are probably sick in the face about it. But if you ever watched any of the races, go back and watch Rocket, go back and watch any of them. You'll see why we talk about it so much. But we'll see. Like you said, this weekend will be a really good tally, a really good gauge of what we're rolling into here in about 2 weeks here at Boot Hill for the King of the Hill.
Absolutely. I can't wait. Looking forward to both of those. All right, man. So I went to Nevada Speedway on Thursday night, and I got to tell you, that was quite the vibe. That passed the vibe check tenfold, man. I got there, and there was a line out to there's a Walmart Supercenter literally 100 yards from the place.
That's
which
cool.
Tells you it's right in town, right? Which is similar to Manny, which is funny because we always talk about Manny's kind of off the beaten path, but it's literally only 300 yards away from a Walmart, so you can't be that far away out of town. You know what I mean? But I pulled up. There's a Burger King, a Taco Bell, a Domino's Pizza. Yeah, I mean, it's right there in the middle of Nevada, Missouri. And I pulled up, and all the race cars are parked out near the road by the main road. And it was just cool the way everything was set up. I went through and talked to some guys in the pits, went up, talked to Todd, and I walk up to this racetrack, Cortland, and I look at these bleachers like they're old school, like wood. It reminded me of Southern Raceway in Milton, Florida's old wood. Really, this racetrack has stood the test of time. I don't care what you do. I said this on RaceOnDirt.com's closing time on live on Facebook the other night with Tyler Rinkin, that if you are in business, I don't care what you do, Cortland, but if you have been in business for 63 years and you have run at least 1 to 10 races, they've at least run at least 5 races every year since 1963. That is the oldest. You always hear me talk about Boot Hill. It's the oldest operating dirt oval in the state of Louisiana. That's something to be proud of. That's something that I take pride in Boot Hill being there. It stood the test of time, right? There's so much rich history there. Do you know how many people I came in contact with on Thursday night at Nevada Speedway? That racetrack has been there for 63 years. The oldest operating dirt oval in the Show Me State in Missouri. And how many fans told me, I've been coming here since I was 5 years old. I've been coming here since I was 10. Just old folks got gray in their hair now. Like, they've been coming here every year since this place opened. And you know how many people said, we've been waiting for the USMTS to come through here since 2008. Because USMTS ain't been there in 18 years. Tommy Weeder Jr. won there on August 7th, 2008. Folks, it had been 18 years since the best modified drivers on planet Earth joined that racetrack for some action. And I got to tell you, those first 4 heat races of the night were some Donnie Brooks special stuff. Like, I really thought, I was like, man, that racetrack was prepared. It's a little bitty, it's not a 5th mile. It's less than a quarter. I'm not sure what you would say the configuration of the length of the track is. But, man, that place got it on. It reminded me of that old Atchison County, the cage race track, right, up in Kansas, that Dillard and Ricky Thornton Jr. had a badass race. Not quite that intense. But, man, Kay Dillard and Joe Duval had a slide job war in heat race number 4, went at it. We unfortunately had a caution that ended it on lap number 7. But for 7 laps, they were throwing haymakers on each other. And then Brandon Davis and Tanner Mullins had a hell of a heat race. It was the heat race of the weekend, bar none. Brandon Davis picked Tanner Mullins' pocket off of 4 coming to the checkers. But, man, that place, like I said, passed the vibe check. Like, I was feeling it. I was outside announcing in the elements. Like, I had a headset. I'm out there. Like, really, I'm bumping elbows with race fans. Ernie Leftwich is over here sitting to my left. And, I mean, there's a bunch of fans. We're up on, like, a wooden balcony at the top. And there's fans all piled in through. It was a great crowd. I was really impressed with the crowd we had there on Thursday night in Nevada. But then the feature rolled out, man, and I don't know, like the support classes, for whatever reason, just kind of started getting married to the bottom. The top went away, and, man, it was just a less than desirable feature. But, man, if it would have been anything like those 4 heat races we were traded to, like, I was going into that thing with my head held high thinking, this might be race of the year. And it just didn't quite Cortland live up to the billing. Hell, I was texting you. I was like, dude, make sure you go back and watch these 4 USMTS heat races. And again, the feature just didn't quite ever come to fruition. But all that being said, Brandon Davis is on a roll. Like, on a roll. He sweeps the entire USMTS weekend to go 5 in a row on the USMTS tour. That's the first time that has happened since Rodney Sanders won 7 in a row, all the way back in the 2014 season, right? Kelly Shryock won 11 in a row at one time in 06. Sanders won 7 in a row again back in 15. Brandon Davis won 5, of course, here in 26. And Ryan Gustin won 5 in a row back in 2010. There's other drivers like Stormy Scott who won 4 in a row at one time. But the question is, and if you want to add anything else on Nevada, because I know you watched some of it, and of course we went to Lucas Oil on Friday and Saturday. I'm rambling a little bit here, but I came in tonight with no notes, man. It's off the dome, man. I'm trying to get it together here.
Just rolling.
But man, this I love my trip up to the Show Me State every year. It was fun to add Nevada into the mix this year because that was a cool little racetrack, and I see so much potential in it, Cortland. That was the whole point of me saying that. I didn't quite live up to the expectation maybe for the feature. Well, I had no expectation, so I can't say that. But I will say that if we go back next year, like they're gonna have it figured out and know what they need to do in order to have that top or that middle line there to give a little bit better racetrack. But I was impressed with that place. And again, Brandon Davis has literally thrown his nuts over his shoulder and has showed that he is the baddest man behind the wheel of a modified right now. He swept Lucas Oil Friday and Saturday night, came from 3rd and got it done Friday, and then he started 7th on Saturday and runs down Tanner Mullins and puts a couple seconds. Like, it was Brandon Davis is on his SHIT right now.
Like, we knew Brandon Davis was good, but after this weekend, like, Brandon Davis is that dude in modifieds. Like you said, like he is on it right now. And to add to the Nevada conversation, when they did the drone shots, you could tell like that place just had its own vibe to it, right? Like you said, the feature maybe wasn't as great as the 4 heat races were, but Nevada was definitely a place that it's the vibe checks out. The drone shots were really cool. You could tell that place was just a neat place and had a lot of history. So yeah, the Nevada race probably wasn't the greatest, but man, when you roll like Brandon Davis has, you could just call it the Brandon Davis weekend. That's what I put down on my notes. So it was Brandon Davis. It was the Brandon Davis weekend. The dude went out and was literally, he may have not been completely perfect on the entire weekend, but at the end of the day, when you win all three feature races, you were perfect, my man. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter about anything else. You won the 3 feature races, you were perfect, my man. And it's just crazy. That drive that he had both Friday and Saturday, the past the guys he did. And it's not like hasn't raced with these guys before or beat these guys before. It's just, he even said it in Victory Lane that like, he goes like, the place like this just isn't my feel. Like a place like Lucas Oil, like I try to do what I do at Deer Creek and it just doesn't work here. And this is just a different place for me. And I normally like, I hate coming here, but now he goes, I kind of like it. I kind of just did something a little bit different and it worked. And for him to say, did something a little bit different and it worked, well, then that's kind of one of them deals. We talk about the Dalton Faulkner or the factory stop competition might be a little worried about Daff. Well, right now these modifieds are all scratching their head with Brandon Davis because the dude was just flat out fast all weekend long. And that drives that he had both Friday and Saturday, man, you can't really pick which one was much better than the other, but just the weekend that he had and the maneuverability of that 50 car, man, it's really, really cool to see. And you love to hear him in Victory Lane talk about how one car, one motor, he borrowed a rig from his best friend, childhood friend, to come up here and go travel for the weekend. It's a really cool story for this Brandon Davis has going on this year.
Isn't that what makes the USMTS so great, and it has for so long now? Because a guy like Brandon Davis, right? He's a local warrior up in Minnesota, right? Like he's won many. I mean, he's more than a local warrior. I want to make that very clear. It's just that he's never really been able to get off the porch because he hasn't had the funding. That's what I'm trying to say. He hasn't had the funding to be able to go off and chase his dreams or his goals and his aspirations. Like this dude, one of his hobbies, if you look on My Race Pass, is diesel tuning. He is one of the smartest guys you will ever meet, really. He is a very, very sharp guy. He really is. He builds and fabricates his own cars, tri-built race cars, and he has a lot of great sponsors and supporters and people who back him. But isn't this what makes the USMTS so great, Cortland? Is that a guy like him, or let's just say hypothetically, a guy like Chris Hennigan, right, who we've seen dominate down here in our area. In my opinion, Chris Hennigan and Brandon Davis are the same person. They're just from a different area, right? They're both supremely talented. Both have won USMTS races, right? Chris Hennigan has proven it, and he's done it. But he's never really had the funding, and I'm not sure Chris has ever really had. Maybe he's had the desire at one point in time, but once he had Brooklyn and Dustin, him and Heather were more worried about raising kids. But that's the question that Chris Hennigan got a ton throughout his racing career is, why don't you go out and run USMTS? Well, it's like, well, why don't you help pay for it? You know what I mean? Like, it takes time and it takes money. And so all Chris has done is just dominate locally and regionally, and he's won a couple of national races in his career. But that's what makes the USMTS great, in my opinion, is that you can take a guy like Brandon Davis off from Deer Creek Speedway. And, dude, that's what makes this also impressive, Cortland, is he didn't get his first win until this streak started. You know what I mean? He didn't get
July
his first
18th.
He didn't get his first win until July 18th. Yes. And this streak didn't start. So he's been figuring it out on the fly all year. everybody in the top 4 in points. This thing is really tight. Only 100 points now. It was only 12 points coming in between him and Jim Chisholm. Chisholm was second in points going after his second title, but only 12 points separate them. And all Brandon Davis did is do exactly what he needed to do and stretch this out. I think the lead now is 65 points for him now to the good. But this USMTS National Championship this year could be either one of these 4 guys. Either Brandon Davis, who's leading now, Jim Chisholm's second, and Mullins and Sanders were tied for third coming into Saturday night. Now, Rodney Sanders is as great a points racer as anybody you'll ever see, but all these guys in the top 4 all had 3 wins coming into Thursday night, and Davis had 2. Now he's got 5, and everybody else has 3. That's how good of a weekend he had. Like, and even more for him, just think about this. I don't see how Brandon Davis doesn't win his first USMTS National Championship in his first attempt due to the fact that the Featherlight Fall Jamboree comes right through his home racetrack. In order to win this championship, that means that these other 3 guys are going to have to outduel and outperform him at his home racetrack with all the chips, all the Tostitos on the table to win a championship. Brandon Davis has set himself up for success here, Cortland, right? To go into Deer Creek to win a championship at your home track, he couldn't have set himself up any better than what he just did this week. This weekend, we're going to look back and say that weekend in Missouri is what catapulted him to win this championship.
Yeah, and to do it and to outduel a guy like you mentioned, Rodney Sanders, the dude finished fourth, and third. This weekend, like you're racing against some of the best modified guys in the country and guys that have done this before. Jim Chisholm has won a USMTS National Championship before, and it's kind of cool that you kind of talk about it. The Brandon Davis kind of on his own, maybe not the greatest funding. When Jim Chisholm won his national championship, he was just in a gooseneck hauler with a diesel truck, right? Like it doesn't necessarily take the nicest S&S rig or nicest stacker and toter. Like you just got to have the will, the want to, and just enough funding to get you there and back. You know what I mean? And then that's all it takes. And you love the ingenuity of it, right? He builds his own race car. Jim Chisholm kind of on his own deal right there. Mullins on his own deal. Sanders in the MB car. And it's just stuff like that makes you love the modified game. And people may not, I feel like we talk about it almost every week. People may not respect the USMTS like they used to, but man, it sure does put on a pretty dang good show.
It's still good.
And there really are some cool stories behind it. And it is still some of the best modified racing that you'll see week in and week out. And there are some certified dogs in that USMTS field, and Brandon Davis has certified himself as a dog after doing what he's done.
Absolutely, man. There's a lot of parity going on right now in the USMTS with chassis manufacturers, engine builders, all kind of different cool storylines, like you just said. And Todd and I were talking the other day. I said, man, I don't know what you have to do to try to maybe get some of these co-sanctioned events back with like USMTS and Lucas Oil. Remember the I-80 Silver Dollar Nationals? I know Rodney Sanders dominated that event, most part. But I was like, dude, you've got to find a way to get some of these co-sanctioned events back, right? And I know that it kind of muddies the water and complicates things because of the streaming. I think that's the main thing, right? Because one's on Racing Dirt, one's on Flow, and I don't know. You got to try to figure out a way to I don't know. It's something for me to say that. I don't own these broadcast companies. It's just from a fan's perspective, it would be cool to see some co-sanctioned events like that with late models and mods again, because you hear James and DJ and Ben always refer to, former USMTS champion. Hell, a former USMTS King of America winner started on the pole at the North-South 100 on Saturday, and Dan Ebert. Like, really, everywhere you look, a USMTS guys come up through the ranks again, and it's impressive. It really is. And this core group of drivers, excuse me, I got that feedback still. I get a little tongue-tied. This core group of drivers that they have right now are really, really good. Like, they're really respectable, and they're coming up making a name for themselves right now. Give them a few more years, and you're going to say, oh, Wyatt Guerrero, oh, yeah, he's a badass. This Joe Chisholm's back now. Oh, yeah, he's a badass. Oh, Jim Chisholm's won 2 straight now. Oh, he's a badass. Yeah, there's a lot of badasses on this tour. Oh, you mean Rodney Sanders is still here? Oh, he's won over 130 of these. Oh, he's a badass. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it needs the respect that it deserves, because this weekend reminded me that it's still freaking legit. And I loved every second of my trip up there. I really did. I love staying in the Amish house. I saw some more Amish people this weekend. I wanted to go up and get their autograph. They'd have been freaked out probably because I had a cell phone in my hand, but I don't care. I love everything about the Show Me State, and I love going to the Diamond and Dirt tracks. But I can't wait to be back at home this week down at the smoothest place to race in Louisiana, Sabine Speedway. And if you want to race, the Hills the Place on Saturday night. All right, Topless 100 this weekend in Bates, Vegas, of course, going up against, you can't say it's going against, but it races the same weekend as the Knoxville Nationals. But the Topless 100, it's massive. This is Mooney Star's biggest race weekend of the year, obviously. And while I mention that, prayers to Garrett Alberson. A lot of racers, man, have taken rocks and taken mud clots to the helmet over the years, right? And we've seen some really bad stuff come out of it, right? I remember Jason Ingles had his orbital bone fractured after something came through and hit him at Lone Star Speedway, and he had to sit out some pretty significant time. And you could see like it deformed Jason's face just a little bit. He had to have some reconstructive eye surgery and all kind of stuff. You know, that was quite the road to recovery for him, and that's just scary stuff, man. But thankfully, Garrett and the family released yesterday that he's going to be okay, but he's going to probably miss some time. But yeah, I don't. Did you see that helmet, Cortland? It's crazy the damage that it did and
Yeah.
how it punctured his visor. I don't think that was a mud clod, and I'm not sure what it was. Because you think about that big
No.
13 car pileup on the front straightaway, there had to have been some debris loose down there. Listen, I
Yeah.
know everybody did their best of cleaning up that scene of the accident, but a 13 car pileup, man, it could be possible that anything could have been left on the racetrack. I'm not sure what hit Garrett, but to hear him say that he's thankful to be alive is kind of eye opening, to be honest with you. Like you saw him get out of the car and kneel down. You could tell that he was up against it and up in some serious pain. So shout out to Garrett Alberson, man. He used to live here in Louisiana,
Yeah.
wrenched for Ronnie Stuckey. I got to know Garrett pretty well. I sent him a message, but obviously he's busy. He didn't get back to me yet, but I'm sure he will when he has time because he's just that good of a guy. But yeah, just prayers and everything to
No.
Garrett, man. That was scary.
Yeah, T's and P's to the whole Albertson family, for sure, for Garrett and everybody else. It's kind of one of our, reality checks that you get every once in a while. And it wasn't like it was we saw crazy wrecks all weekend at Florence. And the thing that does the most damage to somebody is, whatever object that was that cracked the helmet, and like you talk about, you have a big wreck on the front straightaway and different body parts are loose, this, that, and the other. Something may have got knocked loose. Like I don't know what it was that hit him, but 100%, man. Glad that he's going to be all right. Like you said, like possible, like loss of eyesight, or if not worse, and for him to be, on the road to recovery at this point, man, it's really, really good, and kind of like I said, it's a scary reality sometimes, and it's something that, that's something you don't really think about. I think one of the more recent things on a national tour wise, remember Josh Richards climbing out completely bloodied. I think it was at Eldor or something like that, and so sometimes it's one of those deals like you don't think it's just one of those freak deals that happen. And but yeah, glad that Garrett seems to be on the progress back right, and T's and P's out to them, man, because and then, like you said, Garrett Albertson's such a good dude. Like it's just you hate to see it happen.
What is your opinion on Topless this weekend? Just give me a winner. Who do you think's going to win it? Mac Daddy or something crazy? I feel like you're going to give me somebody off the beaten path.
From Chickamauga, Georgia,
He
and the
always
Ace
goes to
Duran.
Batesville, doesn't he?
Dude, like he loves that place.
I know.
Scott Bloomquist loved it in a Bloomquist race car. He's won it before. He won it plenty of times. Like, I don't know. There's probably a couple other people. I'm going to be a little bit of homer on that. Like Dale McDowell, the car's obviously been pretty good, but he gets around Batesville really, really well. Like he does get around Batesville pretty good. In a place like that, unless they have another Daytona style crash and everybody pits and gets tires, Dale McDowell's pretty dang good at saving tires as well. So look for the old Mac Daddy to maybe steal another Topless 100 here.
All right, I got one shout out for the week. I want to give a Southern Raceway. I gave them a shout out earlier this year, but they were completely restructured and reclayed that Milton, Florida quarter-mile oval, and dropped my phone. But yeah, Ashton Winger and Joseph Joyner had a hell of a battle at Southern on Saturday night, and Ashton Winger came out on top. And boy, they were throwing slide jobs, they were throwing elbows on each other, and like they were racing each other on the ragged edge. But man, they have put a freaking ton of work into Southern Raceway, and to see it come to fruition and race as well as it did on their opening night was really cool. It was really cool to see. Like they're going to host a World of Outlaws race next year, right? Like right in front of Hendry County, and that's massive for them and Hunt the Front. And I just want to give the Joiners a shout out here. I do think they listen to the podcast, so I'm not doing it just because they listen. It's because like they're cool, like they're buddies of mine, so I have a lot of respect for them. But I truly mean it when I say it. Like that was a badass race, and they have spent more time at that racetrack, putting a new surface on it than they've spent time at home, right? They have spent more time at that racetrack just trying to get it up and going to the standard they want to set for that place, and couldn't be any prouder of them, man. I hope to make it back down there sometime in the future. Also, another note here is I ate at Culver's for the first time this week when I was up in the Show Me State.
Really?
Have you ever eaten at Culver's?
Oh, Yeah, I've ate at
Oh,
Culver's.
it's
Yes,
so
sir.
fire.
I've been in the Midwest enough.
Buddy.
Yes, Culver's.
Dude, Culver's is unbelievable. That Oreo cheesecake, like, oh, Oreo
I didn't even
cheesecake
get that.
custard. Well, I'm usually not a fat ass, but I was this day, Sunday. And, buddy, that was good. And I had me a double cheeseburger. But yeah, man, it was fire. They have this fried pickle burger right now. It's fried pickles on it with this fresh brioche bun. Anyway, Culver's doesn't sponsor this pod, but if they did, it'd be a lot cooler if they did. But we know it's not going to happen.
Hey,
So, yes.
I was just gonna say them Culver's cheese curds, cuz like that's all I gotta say. Them
Yeah.
Culver's cheese curds hit different. I don't know if you got any,
Dude,
but
Miss
that's all I
Dee
got to say.
Listen,
Like, dude,
I would never remember the name of the lady who served me my food, but I will tell you, her name tag said Dee Dee, and I will never forget it because she was the kindest, sweetest lady I've ever met in my life. I walked in, and it's like she knew that it was my first time. And when I walked up to the menu, she's like, she was so happy that I was there. She's like, how can I help you today? Like, she was so fired up. She needs a raise. I'm going to tell you right now, Dee Dee in Harrisonville, Missouri, you need to give that lady a raise. I'm here to tell you now. But anyway, I was like, my first time here. She was like, oh, really? Like, she was fired up because she was ready to serve me something up on a platter. And I was like, yes, ma'am, first time here. She said, well, I'll tell you what I recommend. She got real personal, like leaned into me and stuff. And this is like, well, this is what I would do, son. And I'm like, well, damn, okay, I'm getting that real deal treatment here. So anyway, Miss Dee Dee was awesome. I'm getting off on a tangent. Thank you, Miss Dee Dee, for the delicious fried pickle burger. It was incredible. All right. Last thing here, and then but I'll throw it to you. But last thing I'm going to mention, because a couple weeks ago I said the craziest thing I saw this week. Well, I had another one today, and I want to mention this, okay? I talked about on my intro. And then I'll let you tell us what's on the RaceON platform this week, because we're already at an hour and 20 minutes right now. The last three pods, funny enough, they all ended at about 118. All of them did. The last few, and I never shoot for anything. They just end whenever they end, right? So anyway, a high school, look at this, the picture. Will it focus? Okay, that's a snake. All right, and a helmet. That's a snake in a football helmet. But I'm going to tell you, a high school football player in Arkansas spent nearly an hour practicing. He spent an hour practicing with a venomous cottonmouth snake in his helmet before finding it under the padding. The player was not bitten and continued practicing as animal services arrived to assist. Cuz I am so terrified of snakes. If I was out on the football field in 100-degree heat and I'm practicing and I get bit in the head by a freaking snake who's up there plotting on me, who's hiding in my helmet, we're going to have problems. I'm going to quit football. I'm not even playing football again. I'm going to actually start asking questions to be like, who doesn't like me and who set me up for failure? Who let a cottonmouth get in my football helmet? I'm not okay with it. That's the craziest thing. Look at this. It's the craziest thing you've ever heard. Look at that. Look at that snake in that football helmet. He's up there in the padding. Anyway, craziest shit I've seen this week. That's almost worse than one coming up your commode, coming up through the toilet and biting you right on the ass. But anyway, that's all I've got. Tell us what's on the platform. If you want to talk about snakes, you're more than welcome.
I'm gonna hit you with that James Essex. I don't know what to say on that other than I give them dude mad credit for going back and keep on practicing, because I'm kind of the same way. If I'd have took that helmet off and found that snake, I'm taking all the pads off. I'm stripping down. I might run off the field butt naked. Who knows? But I would not put a helmet back on and keep on practicing. I can tell you that much. Anyway, on the RaceON platform this weekend, my man, like you talked about before, I did. I started writing it down, and I must have got sidetracked earlier, but I got it up right here. Cotton Bowl Speedway's racing with the Dwarf cars, the Micro Classic, the American Communications Construction Micro Classic at Gulf Coast Speedway, micro racing action on the RaceON platform, the Jack Webb Memorial at Hunt County Raceway, Maquoketa Speedway on Saturday night, Cotton Bowl Speedway, again, doubling down with the Dwarf cars. Again, Gulf Coast Speedway, 2-night deal with that one as well, with the Micro Classic. South Texas Raceway, Corpus Christi. Is that true? It says it's scheduled here on RaceON. Springfield Raceway, Saturday night action. 1,000 to win Eco Mods at Kennedale Speedway Park. Power Wheel Mayhem at 105. Tom's is at Grayson County. Love the Tom series. Love watching that every week when I come back home. 305 Sprint Cars RPM. Super B Speedways racing with some Saturday night action. And Dubuque with their Sunday racing. Always catch a good Sunday show at Dubuque. And me and you, the dynamic duo or the two goofballs, whatever you want to call us, Sabine Speedway Friday night, RaceON All-Star Challenge, stock cars, fan appreciation, turnaround Saturday, same thing. I'm deeming this weekend the Fender National, Zach Clark. We got fenders everywhere. We got the Street Stock Nationals going on over at Why Not? And boy, we got our own fender nationals over here. Stock cars, factory stocks. You got the Weatherford Memorial, the E7 Weatherford Memorial for the Sportsters going on at Boot Hill. Extra money added to Boot Hill. Manny's going to be a banger. Boot Hill's going to be a banger. And me and you, two goobers, will be up in the booth calling the action, and it's going to be a well of a time. So that's what's all going to be on the RaceON platform this weekend. But before we get out of here, Zach, you got to do your 97s real quick because you went on a tangent and you forgot to do them.
Damn. Yeah. All right. So
I know.
Shout out to
I saved you there. Yeah, that's what you keep me around for. That's what you keep me around for.
I'm telling you, I'd lose my head if it wasn't screwed on. I promise you that. All right. So the 97s this week, but last week, like I said, the Knightons. I'm going to mention them twice tonight because I missed them last week. The Knightons. Michael Knighton was a badass race car driver, right? Raced the pure stock truck class for many years. Moved up to modifieds, won the 2010 Quick Race Car Spring Nationals at Arklatex. There was like 48 modifieds there that night, and he outrun Michael Robertson to get it done, and Jamie Burford and Jason Ingalls. Yeah, I got Michael Knighton as a madman, Your Honor, in the 96 modified. He was really good in his time, and now his son Dylan is coming up making a name for himself. And Dilly is a great kid. I always love interacting with him and talking to him at the racetrack, and maybe even rubbing elbows with him every once in a while on iRacing. So shout out to the Knighton family. Of course, the 97, the Thriller, Cade Dillard. By the way, I texted Cade Dillard earlier just before we started the pod, and I asked him, are you running the topless? And he said, no, sir. So Cade Dillard will not be at the Topless 100 this weekend. I just told him I understand and respect that. Remember, everything that went awry last year, the whole deal with Garrett, well, that means you don't have the two guys that locked horns last year. Alberson won't be there either, nor will the 97 of Dillard, but that's neither here nor there. Hate the reason that the 58's missing it, but Cade can do whatever he'd like. But I really think the 97 might have a good shot at winning the top. I don't know. That's just what I think. I think he's been good there, but that's just my opinion. Of course, the number 97 car of Jeff Hogue used to race mods around here. And, of course, Tristan Dykes been driving that Star One Roofing number 97 car here lately. I left you a few on the table. What you got?
You left me a few on the table. I'm going to go with the 97X, Mason Hudman out of Tatum, Texas. He picked up an old rookie Sportster win at Arklatex earlier this year, so I'm going to give a shout out to Mason Hudman. Talking super late models, always got to try to have one, right? I mean, you took one, I got another one. Cody Overton out of Thompson, Georgia. 8 wins this year. He's got teamed up, kind of a partner deal with Dan Ebert's car owner and all that. But ever since he joined on with them, he went on a tear with the Southern All-Star Series there and picked up a bunch of wins here recently. So Cody Overton, a little sexy, is back on a little bit of speed here lately. I got a number 97, Kurt Busch, the NASCAR, in the early 2000s for Roush. He won a championship, but that old 97 Sharpie car was pretty legit. That's all I got to say. I got a die cast of it. It's pretty sweet. And then I got 197 that you probably don't know, but out of Oakland, Maryland, my boy Mitch Thomas, who raced a dirt UMP modified. I met him out on Summer Nationals. We parked beside each other at Macon one night, and we happened to run really good in our heat race. We were locked in, and he run his heat race, and he pulled in, and the complete deck was blown out of this thing, as you do most of the time when you leave a race at Macon. And we over there, and we kind of helped him put it back together, got to talking, and the Thomas family is some really good people. And I know there's probably nobody up in Maryland that listens to this, but I got to give a shout out to my boy Mitch Thomas. He actually went down to Volusia earlier this year, Dirt Car Nationals, won a prelim, got him a little gator, and run really well on the championship night. But he's jumped from the modifieds and running a late model now. But I'm gonna give a shout out to homie Mitch Thomas. We've crossed paths several times on the Summer Nationals tour, and always great people, him and his dad. And he was actually the Hoosier Racing Tire Hero of the Year for 2026. So got a pretty cool little video out there that the Hoosier Racing Tire Company put out there on him. But Mitch Thomas is my last 97 for the night, Zach Clark.
Absolutely, man. Well, that's a wrap on the podcast tonight. Thank you, everybody, for listening and hanging out with us until the final whistle. We'll see you Friday night from the Sabine Speedway and Saturday night from the place to race, the Boot Hill Speedway in the state of Louisiana. We'll be live on RaceON all weekend long. And, of course, tune us in and have the Knoxville Nationals on one screen and have the Topless on another. Hey, roll 3 of them, folks. It's worth it. I promise. It'll. Or how about this? Go and support the racetracks live and direct in person. Pick one of them or go. You know, heck, I almost went to Knoxville. I'm not there, but I'm going to try to get over it. Tim's going to call me again tomorrow, or he's going to send me a video from Knoxville and tell me what a great time he's having, and I'm going to be jealous. But I'll be watching.
Hold on. Just think about this. Yeah. Think about this. Think about a car ride with Tim Crawley. Could you imagine the stories that you would have heard? And then you roll into Knoxville with the Crawdaddy, like just walking around, and you're his special guest.
Yeah, I'd have been cool.
Zach, you messed up. You messed up. No, I'm just messing with you. I want you to be in the booth with me because
Thanks
we're
a
going to have a
lot.
good time. We always have a good time.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that would have been a once in a lifetime trip. But I'm sure the old Crawl Daddy will offer it to you again.
All right. For the final time, be blessed and be a blessing.
Yeah.
We'll see you at the dirt track.
Later.